Good evening, my name is Garrett, and welcome to The Last Call. On tonight's verses, we have Ardbeg Single Malt Scotch Whiskey coming in at a 46% ABV, at least 10 years old, versus Bruichladdich Port Charlotte Heavily Peated Single Malt Scotch Whiskey coming in at a 50% ABV, at least 10 years old. Now, I've talked about it many of times. I'm a huge fan of Ardbeg. As you can see here, I love picking up their bottles because they are just an amazing peated scotch. But when it comes to Port Charlotte, man, this one becomes my bridesmaid. There's a lot of times I'll start off the night with a pour of this and go, oh, that's right, Port Charlotte. And I don't know why that is, because I do love the pour itself. The question comes down to, as much of an Ardbeg fan that I am, what does Bruichladdich bring to the table for me? And hopefully if you see both of these on the shelf, helps you make a decision on which side you should fall on as well for picking yourself up a bottle. So we're going to talk about color, notes, taste, then wrap things up in the winner section. So let's jump into it. And as always, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hang around for a bit, become a member if you'd like. If you're interested in some individual reviews over either of these bottles or some other peated scotches, links to those videos will be up above and down below. My first whiskey of the night. I'm getting over a bit of a sickness, as you can tell. I'm actually recording this Friday, the day it's posting. So, a little bit of a sore throat, but nothing bad. We're out of the woods. Both of them, beautiful colors. If anything, the Port Charlotte is slightly darker. Just a little bit darker than the Ardbeg, but very similar colors on there. Alrighty, let's start on notes for the Ardbeg. Oh man. And to be honest, that nose is why I fell in love with Ardbeg. Not at first. Obviously at first it really took me by surprise and I didn't know what to expect with a peated scotch. But this brings in across those smoky, earthy undertones, a little charriness, and a light oiliness on the nose. For me, Ardbeg always has this distinct lemon zest note, like a freshly grated lemon peel. And it livens it up, brightens it up a little bit, and gives you some more depth besides just smoky, earthy, peaty notes. It's also got that next day campfire going on. Like if you've ever been out camping or did anything with a bonfire and you go out the next day and there's still a few smoldering embers down in there and you got your jacket on from the night before, so you get that next day's smoke on your clothes and all that kind of good vibes going on there. Also get a little apple sweetness for me today. It's interesting because it's giving me a little bit of the caramel from the ex-bourbon casks they use. So it's almost bringing across like a salted caramel note. That's different. I don't think I've ever picked that up. But it's so approachable. There's no ABV, nothing harsh, no off notes. Just a gorgeously done peated element in that one. Alrighty, let's go for notes on the Port Charlotte. And see, that nose is similar in some aspects, but not quite. You still get the earthy, the peaty, the smoky. However, the big thing that's different for me, it's got a creaminess to it, but like a sharp cheese creaminess, teetering close to almost like blue cheese kind of creamy notes going on. Because it's got this undertone of like a cheese bite, but then you get that creaminess with it, and it's giving me that kind of blue cheese bite. Still getting the salty, the earthy, the peaty, all those beautiful Isla notes that you're wanting. I'm also getting a little bit of a vanilla sweetness in on this side as well. And it plays so well with the charriness, because you're not getting quite as much of the oily factor that the Ardbeg brings over here on the Port Charlotte, but you're getting that kind of underbelly sweet tones going on. Very approachable nose as well. Still no ABV, nothing harsh, no off notes. Light bit of charriness, pepperiness as well, like freshly cracked black peppercorns. But not a lot of fruit elements. You're not getting that lemon zest that I get over here on the Ardbeg. And then instantly I find it again. And I'm getting a little bit more oiliness over here as well. Kind of more like, almost like freshly laid asphalt kind of oiliness to things. like a tar oiliness. Alrighty, let's go for a taste. To be honest, it's a great pour. Get that kind of salty sting on the palate. A little oiliness clings pretty good as well. You're getting those kind of wood embers and that wood spicy characteristic in here. And then you're getting a little bit of that lemon, kind of just like a freshly squeezed lemon. Like if you've ever had a steak and you get that lemon wedge, you squirt across it, or fish. It's not like that it's savory, but it's bringing across a similar experience where you're getting these kind of earthy tones to things, and then all of a sudden you get that burst of sweet, kind of a little tart note going in there from that lemon. A little bit of those black peppercorns going in there, and it's really just clings beautifully, leaving across a little bit of spiciness, and then that wood sugars kind of sweet characteristic as well. Second step here, finding more of that lemon zest, and actually a little bit of green apple in here too. And then it rolls into that bit of salted caramel and the barrel spices, the wood sugars, the charry levels going in here. The earthy, the peaty, the smokiness really just clings to the palate. And it's like, again, the next day smoke. After you've been camping, you get that leftover smoke on your jacket or your clothes, and you get that kind of reminiscent smell off of them. I love that sip. And again, it's partly is because of how great that palate is, but the other part of it is because of the memories it reminds me of. Alrighty, let's go for a taste on the Port Charlotte. And that's a great sip. It really, truly is. I love that creaminess to it. And again, even on the palate, kind of gives you the blue cheese vibe, where it's got this kind of creamy yet sharp flavor going on here. And the only thing I can compare it to would be like a little piece of blue cheese. I like blue cheese on my salad from time to time. Still getting a lot of that wood sugar spiciness in there, the cracked black peppercorns. There's a few more percents of ABV going on here. Doesn't really necessarily come across in the taste, but it does have a little more depth of flavor when it comes to, it's got more rich palate to things. Where this has got a little more bounce to it, a little more liveliness to it. And this has got a little more refined notes and a little more rich characteristics going on. This would be like if you wanted to compare, like if this was a 12-year-old whiskey and this was 10 years, you go, yeah, I can tell the age difference. Well, there's no age difference here, but their palate over here for the Port Charlotte has just a little more elevated character to it. I love that sip. Not quite as much salty on the palate. Still get a little bit of there, a little bit of that kind of peaty, next day smoke going on, especially here in the finish. But the big differences for me, besides that creaminess that I'm getting over here and that sharp note, is that lemon that I get over here. You don't get that kind of, I'm going to call it a reprieve from the palate, because it is like dark and heavy and creamy, and you get those kind of more rich tones going over here, where here you get a little bit more lively, a little lighter flavors. Neither are wrong at the end of the day, because they're both damn good sips. And you don't get quite as much oiliness as the Ardbeg brings across. But I love that rich undertone spiciness mixed in there with that salty characteristic, because over here that saltiness is a little more potent for me. So, let's talk about a winner in this situation. Well, here in my market, these can both be found right around the same price point of about $65. At the end of the day, if they're both equal pricing in your market, the big thing comes down to is this. I personally like to lean towards the Port Charlotte in this A-B comparison today. I think it's just got a little more richer palate. The creamy factors are going on over here, and I love that sharp undertone that the Port Charlotte brings. This still brings across some great classic flavors of what I think of when I think of an Islay Scotch. And to me, neither of them are bad sips. I don't think that I'm criticizing one or the other. They're both wonderful bottles. And heck, if you're buying one of these today and you're looking at them, pick up one of these today, and the next time, pick up the other one. You won't be disappointed, because one will complement the other no matter which way you start. They're both phenomenal sips, but for me here today, I'm giving it to the Port Charlotte by just a margin of that creamy factor of that blue cheese note. So yeah, there you have it, folks. Ardbeg 10 years old versus Port Charlotte 10 years old. If you have questions about either bottle, let me know down in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer it. And if you have any A/B comparison bottles I should put up against each other, let me know as well. I love doing these reviews, helps me learn, and hopefully helps you make a smart decision with your wallet. And as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
You know, and I really like it might